So on behalf of the entire Office of the Arts, we'd like to welcome you and thank you all so much for being here for the 15K Creative Arts Competition pitch finale. My name is Shannon Rose McAuliffe, and I'm the manager of the Student Arts programs here at MIT.
Hi, I'm Theo Fields. I'm a first-year MBA student at MIT Sloan and the graduate assistant at the Office of the Arts, helping with this competition.
So tonight is our 9th annual pitch finale for the 15K. Since 2013, the 15K has served as an incubator for creative entrepreneurial startups, and it's helped dozens of student teams to grow their ideas into influential businesses that live at the intersection of arts and innovation.
We had 10 creative entrepreneurship ventures advance through the preliminary rounds of feedback, the competition this year. Throughout the whole process, these teams have shown amazing progress and have demonstrated an impressive collaborative attitude, often working together and getting to know one each other beyond just the means of competing. They should all the teams who competed this year should be commended for their flexibility, their perseverance, and their integrity in the midst of upheaval this year in a very uncommon year.
So following the first round of judging, we have 5 finalist teams who have emerged for a chance to win $15,000 towards supporting their projects. We're really quite proud of their diligence, their hard work, and we're very excited tonight to announce that everyone pitching tonight will walk away with at least $1,000 to support their ventures. It's been a privilege to witness the growth that each team has undergone on their journey to get here this afternoon. The competition was essentially designed to provide benefit to creative ventures at all stages. So it's important to note that all of these teams were offered to experience these 3 key aspects of the 15K. So firstly, we've got idea development and workshops. We started this year's competition with a kickoff keynote and mini conference, including a talk by Wendy and Jen, who are here tonight from Creative Reframe. And this was followed by a panel discussion with previous competitors and mentors from the 15K. Following that, we launched a 5-part workshop series that really assisted teams who were in the initial phases of their ventures. And these topics spanned value propositions, budgets, and business plans. Then during the independent activity period in January, we ran a 4-week course that was aimed at helping ventures to learn how to write more coherently and persuasively about their businesses. So then we got into the application phase. Following the initial applications, each team received thorough feedback from very seasoned arts professionals and entrepreneurs. So through these cumulative experiences, we kicked off the whole 15K. Our teams started to grow their ideas and their business acumen, and this all started to happen on a much more broad scale. And following that, these workshops were augmented by more thorough and granular individual mentorship.
Exactly, and mentorship is the second component that all the teams were able to access. And so all of the teams experienced one-on-one mentorship sessions with distinguished MIT faculty, alumni, creative entrepreneurs, artists, attorneys, marketing specialists, industry leaders. I think that's all of them, but there's probably more categories that we could include there. And all of these people provide nuanced insights and expertise helping the teams develop their projects. This all happened, and we really appreciate a platform called Mentorly. The 15K and Mentorly have been working together for several years now, and they've been incredibly helpful in assisting us with the data and scheduling management, as well as stewardship and mentoring, helping steward everyone through the mentorship process. The teams that competed this year cumulatively undertook 27 rigorous one-on-one mentoring sessions with the experts that I've mentioned before. This is in addition to the rounds of feedback that they got, the workshops that we did, and the mock pitch events that we held.
And following that, a very integral element of the 15K competition comes down to this one concept, and it's about networking, it's connections. Our student teams make connections with other students, with alumni, and with industry mentors. And this network continues to support them even after they graduate, as they continue to seek ideas and opportunities and funding to help bring their ideas to fruition. So this year's process, which culminates in today's pitch finale, would not have been possible without the expertise, guidance, and support from the MIT community and everybody who has been a part of this year's 15K. I'd like to acknowledge our application feedback team, our mentors, and our semifinal round judges. They volunteered their time, knowledge, resources, and really expert insights throughout this entire process. We also ran those 5 fantastic workshops that I alluded to before. And we've got people who were affiliated with the Martin Trust Center, the Legatum Center, Ohio State University, Athlone Artists, and Creative Reframe. And of course, we thank Mentorly, as Theo mentioned, for providing us with constant support and an online platform that helps to facilitate and track our entire mentor process. Moving on, my extreme gratitude to my colleagues in the Office of the Arts for their insight, their support, and for graciously assisting me with presenting what is yet another virtual event. I didn't think we'd be doing this way again, and I sure couldn't be doing it without them. So thank you to all of you. And a huge thank you to Michael and Maria. They are Team Elements. They were our 2020 winner. And when the judges go off into deliberation after the pitches tonight, Elements is going to give you an update about the really fantastic and exciting things that they've been doing since last year's 15K. And finally, we've got a group of phenomenal guests who've joining us tonight for our judging panel. So without further ado, we're going to introduce each of them now.
So yeah, the first we'll introduce is Michael Camp. In addition to teaching me my first entrepreneurship class, he is also an entrepreneur, an educator, and an investor with extensive experience designing interdisciplinary experiential educational programs in entrepreneurship. His programs have launched hundreds of entrepreneurial careers in dozens of different product market verticals, including energy, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, software, medical devices, fashion, arts, and entertainment.
So now we've got Jen Gilliman. Jen is a faculty member at Northeastern University's College of Arts, Media, and Design, and she's the co-founder of Creative Reframe, which is a startup that partners with universities to integrate the arts and innovation. And since the pandemic, Jen has become a tree and bird enthusiast, and she's working hard these days to learn how to tell the difference between a grackle and a crow, which I still can't do. So good job, Jen.
Next up is Janan Avenatti. Janan is the executive director of the MIT Sandbox Innovation Fund program. She brings a unique combination of experiences from academic research to senior operational and strategic roles in startup companies and large enterprises. She's also held leadership roles in 2 of the largest and most successful startups in Boston area, ITA Software and Kayak. Janan is also an avid volunteer at her children's schools, including being a founding member of the Shady Hill Schools Center of Arabic Culture. Thanks, Janan.
Next up, we have Christine Armstrong. Christine is an educator, a scholar activist, a cultural strategist, mentor, and woman of color who is committed to centering access, equity, and inclusivity. Through this work, Christine has been recognized as a subject matter expert and thought leader for her commitment to community and to steering its effort towards self-empowerment and social equity. In January 2021, Christine joined Boston University's Innovate at BU team as the project manager there, program manager, excuse me, and Lesley University's Graduate School of Education as an adjunct instructor.
The final judge that we'll introduce tonight is Guillermo Kondas. Guy is a filmmaker and photographer living and working in New York and Sao Paulo, Brazil. He is currently the creative director of Lobo Studios in New York. He has directed numerous projects from TV spots to interactive content for clients, including Disney/Pixar, Google, Chobani, Pepsi, and Audi. He's worked with major production companies around the world and his short films have been featured in countless international film festivals.
All right, so before we commence with this evening's pitches, I'm going to go over a little bit of housekeeping. I know that we're all Zoom experts by now, but I would be remiss not to say anything. So for attendees, competitors, and judges alike, please keep your audio muted and go ahead and pop off camera unless you are actively speaking. Each team is going to have 5 minutes to pitch. We'll have 5 minutes for questions from the judges, and then we'll have about a minute's buffer and transition time between these pitches. We're endeavoring to adhere to these time schedules as closely as we can, and please note that we may intervene gently via chat or with a verbal reminder if things are going off course. So please don't be alarmed if all of a sudden you hear Shannon Rose Ex Machina's voice coming in through the through your pitch. So after the 5 pitches, judges are going to exit for a roughly 45-minute deliberation period. And then you, the audience, will have an opportunity to ask questions of our teams, and you'll hear an update from our 2020 winner, Team Elements. If you have any questions for the teams throughout the event, go ahead and submit them through the chat or hold on to them for this Q&A period following the pitches. So before we get started, and before everybody just pitches cold, let's do a quick roll call. So teams, please come on camera and give us a wave when you're called. And we've got Team Volar first. Hi, Ignacio.
Hi, everyone.
Then we're going to go with Fermentation Heritage Project.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. There we are. There's Jessica. Next, Azeki Road.
Hello, everyone. How's it going?
Doing all right, Abogu. How you doing? We're really excited to hear your pitch. Next, we've got Rivet.
Hi, everyone.
Anj.
Thanks for coming.
Yep, good to see you. And finally, we've got Sita with Caso.
Hi, everyone. Excited to share CASA with you all.
Excellent. Thank you all for that quick intro. It was nice to sort of start to put a name to the face before we get rolling. And with that, we are going to start with our pitch. And I believe that means, Ignacio, you are up. Just let us know when you're ready to roll. You should be able to share your screen. And when you're ready to go, let us know so we can start time.
Perfect. All right, let's go.
All right, take it away.
So creators and artists in Latin America are desperate to live of their passion and turn side hustles into careers. Let me tell you about Romina Sacre. Romina is from Mexico and she's passionate about female empowerment. She's a fashion designer. She's also an author. Romina has an audience of around 100,000 followers on Instagram that follow her because they really love the content that she produces. So we've been talking to Romina a lot, and she tells us that she's desperate to turn her passion into a sustainable career. Right now, Romina primarily makes most of her money through ads and brand sponsorships, which take a big cut of the revenues and also force her to dilute her passion because she has to become more marketable. At the same time, Romina knows that she has to diversify her revenues, but she lacks the business expertise to know what to do. And she also doesn't have enough time to focus on that. So this is where Volar comes in. We empower creators and artists like Romina with the software and business tools to monetize her audience. In the long term, we want to become the one-stop shop where creators and artists manage and grow their business. So right now, we're helping Romina in 3 main ways. First, we provide her the business expertise to understand what to sell to her audience and at what price. Secondly, we allow her to very easily set up a mobile optimized website on our platform where she can sell things directly to her fans. And thirdly, we take off anything that's to do with logistics, payments, scheduling completely off her plate. So right now, Romina is offering one-on-one mentorships and also some group experiences. So for example, with the one-on-one mentorships, she can do 60-minute sessions with her audience where she can talk about things like how to become a fashion designer, how like certain obstacles that women may encounter in the workplace, how to grow an audience on social media. She charges around $60 for those experiences, and Volar would take around 15 to 20% cut of that. So we launched a 2-week pilot with Romina, and the results were amazing. So in just 2 weeks, Romina generated $1,000 in revenue. Out of those, 55% were repeat sales. She also saw 100% NPNs for both the fan side and her own, so she was very satisfied. And also, we had very favorable organic dynamics from the creator side. So we saw 20 new creators and artists asking to join our platform completely organically. So that was at $0 creator acquisition cost. And out of these 20 creators, we have now onboarded 4, with which we're launching a new pilot. So just like Romina, there's 12 million other creators and artists in Latin America who are desperate to turn their passion into a career. The artists that we're targeting have 3 traits in common. First, they have a passion for a specific topic and a knowledge that they can really share with their audience. Secondly, they already have a pre-existing audience, typically between 50,000 to 200,000 followers. So they're not celebrities, but they're also not just starting off. And thirdly, they are completely underserved. So they don't have the tools to monetize their audience. Most of the existing tools are either optimize for creators and artists in other countries, like for example, the US, and also often favor creators that are more in like the celebrity stage of the artist life cycle. So this is a very big market opportunity in Latin America. It's $4 billion in Latin America, with a more than 20% annual growth, driven by the increase in internet penetration, digital payments, and very favorable fan engagement metrics. So there's also huge latent supply and demand that will make this market even bigger as it starts to develop more. So these numbers are for Latin America overall. Our beachhead market, and where we will be starting off, is what we already started, is Mexico. Also, we're the perfect team to tackle this market and conquer and help the creators in Latin America. So I will be focusing on go-to-market and strategy. I have experience working in strategy consulting. Rafaela is from Brazil and will be leading branding and marketing. Trudy and Dippy are engineers from MIT and will be focusing on the product. And Mauricio, Mateo, and Lindsay will be dealing with operations and the day-to-day with creators. And just to close it off, I'd like to ask you to join us to help empower creators in Latin America to live off their passion. With 15K, will really help us enhance our product that we already have made an MVP for, and also keep optimizing our creator acquisition engine so that we can keep helping more and more people in Latin America. Thank you so much, and please let me know if you have any questions.
All right, fantastic. Ignacio, why don't we have you come off of screen share so that we can have some Q&A with the judges, who can feel free to come on camera at this time. Here we go. Janan, why don't we go with you?
Yeah, great presentation, so clear, and you just make it look so easy. So I'm going to teach you a little bit about what may be hard. So how hard was it to help your initial creators to actually gain revenue? How much work was that? Yeah, so the bulk of the work was before we launched with Romina. So we spent a lot of time doing PMR and really understanding her pain points and figuring out what would help her like increase revenue. And after interviewing her and lots of other creators, we thought that trying out something directly with fans like what we did would be the right solution. So that was the bulk of the work. Then initially sort of creating a profile for her, which you can sell directly to her fans, and like coming up with the ideas that of the stuff that she wants to offer was not super time consuming. So that was like a 1 or 2 day exercise. And it has been the same for the 4 other creators that we've onboarded already. So from the time that we first get in touch with a creator to when they actually live, it's usually like a 1 to 3 day period. So it's very fast.
This is Michael. Hey, following up on that question. Yeah, thank you. Nice presentation. Following up on that question, do you have a sense of how much you would have invested in getting a creator online, and to what extent you use that information to set the 15 to 20% profit share price point for the team, for the company?
Yeah, so just to clarify, when you say invested, you mean more like how much are we spending to acquire a creator, or?
Yeah, well, yeah, it would be, first of all, cost to identify them, but then actually onboard them to get their platform set up, to get everything that they need in order to do the work. So
yeah,
you have a sense?
Yeah, so in terms of specific numbers, right now we haven't spent any money apart from our own time to make that happen. So all the coding that we've done to create the websites has been in-house using no-code tools, and then all the acquisition has been pretty organic. So usually, well, we had Romina, then she launched, and all the other creators coming in came completely organically. So we didn't spend any money there. So it's mostly our time commitment initially, and now we're going more in like a concierge type approach as we finalize the product. So I think the 15 to 20%, we've justified it more in terms of like comparison to what they're experiencing in other places, rather than like our own expenditure right now, because that's likely to change. And for example, if a creator runs an ad on Instagram takes 100% of that revenue, and YouTube takes 50%. And if they launch with an agency, which is the more traditional way of like dealing with any sort of creative work like this, they take anywhere between 60 to 80%. So for us, that 15 to 20% range is a huge decrease. And given the numbers in terms of revenue that we've been seeing, like the increase that can provide to them, we think it's like a justifiable way for us to like scale and grow as fast as we want to.
Thank you.
Excellent. I think we have time for one more. So Jen, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. And I love that you're focusing on helping creators directly. The question that I have for you is about, you're working, it sounds like, mostly with influencers. And so these would all be probably people who already have a following online. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Right. So influencers is a word that we titled not to use because it has connotations of a different type of creator. So for us, it's someone that has a passion and a knowledge that they can share. But yes, they do have a pre-existing audience. Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted.
Thank you. And I don't know if we have time, but it sounds like with your one kind of example, you talked about doing these one-on-one services. And then are you looking to expand audiences, or could you give one other example of, advertisement, but is there anything else that you could see as part of the package?
In terms of how we help creators make, yeah. So most of our starting point is those one-on-one mentorships. Like something that we've already started to try is more focused on group experiences, and these are like 5 to 20 like group sessions where people sort of would pay less of a, like the price ticket would be lower, and so it's more likely that you'd have a bigger volume. And sometimes we're trying to see if it would make sense to organically have brands also sponsoring these 50 to 20 people group experiences where let's say like Romina does like a conversation around cocktail making or fashion within a certain industry, and like a brand sponsors that, then like they would be able to have an extra top up in terms of the revenue in a very organic way without becoming an ad or like a brand sponsor. It would be something very organic. But in terms of like helping them grow to new audiences, as we've added new creators in this new pilot that we launched, we've seen already some, like, I don't know how to call it, like cross-pollination, where some of the audience from the other creators went into our platform and saw what Romina was offering and started to request things from her. So as we have more creators, there will be more like interchanging between the different audiences that are existing already, and that will help all of them grow.
All right. And with that concludes our Q&A with Volar. Thank you so much for that pitch, Ignacio. And now we are going to get ready for Charlene and Jessica from Fermentation Heritage Project.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're here to bring food fermentation back to our home and our community. When I was growing up, in my grandmother's kitchen kept a ceramic jar that sits humbly on the counter. And every time she cooked, she would add a little bit from that jar into her dishes. And it created this wonderful, rich umami flavor in all the meals that she made. It was a flavor of my childhood and of my East Asian heritage. And the flavor came from the magic of fermentation. However, due to the rapid rise of processed food industry, the art, the tradition, and the flavor of fermentation is slowly disappearing. And that is why we want to bring back fermentation with a modern touch, and we created an intelligent fermentation chamber. Most of you guys have probably had fermented food either this morning or something this week in the form of yogurt, craft beer, kombucha, or even kimchi. But fermented food is so much more. Fermentation actually forms the backbone of many cultural flavors, such as miso in Japan, tempeh in Indonesia, and black bean sauce in my hometown, China. The process of fermentation is actually pretty complex, a mix of chemical reaction with different microbiomes, but you can think of it as cooking done by little microscopic chefs. And as they cook, they unlock more nutrients in food while providing a natural source of probiotic. It is a plant-centric way of creating food, which is healthy for us and also for the planet. It is a natural way of preserving. So the challenge of fermentation is keeping the right environment throughout the entire process. If the environment is off, we're risking underdeveloped flavor or potentially worse, food spoilage. And that is why we created our fermentation chamber to control and monitor the environment throughout the entire process. It will provide precise temperature, humidity, and airflow control with active monitoring, designed to fit a variety of different ferments, and with the companion app. We have simple pre-programmed setting for beginners to try out different type of fermentation method, and also custom control for culinary artists to test and develop their own flavor. Currently, existing devices are too specialized and limiting, such as yogurt maker or kombucha maker. Our product will be the first to provide a controlled environment for a wide range of fermentation.
So our initial focus is aimed at the fermentation community, which we estimate to be around 500,000 people. These are folks that are already familiar with the fermentation process and they're already DIYing their own setups. We'll later expand to restaurant and everyday home cooks. This is a really good time for fermentation because there's a growing trend in healthy eating and probiotic diets. And we really want to be part of that excitement. So we started out by reaching to our target group of passionate fermenters to understand if there was demand for our device. Through online presence and user survey, we have over 50 beta testers waiting to try out our product. We also hosted a MIT event to introduce fermentation to the local community. There was a high level of engagement from the attendees, and they gave really valuable insights into what hesitations they had towards getting started. We're now in the process of refining our prototype. Our first milestone is to get 10 beta devices sent out to our volunteer testers. We estimate the cost of producing these beta devices to be around $13,000, and that's why we're requesting funding. We're also preparing to showcase our device at the Boston Ferment Festival later next year. Our plan is to become a B Corporation with a mission to keep the practice of fermentation alive. And so we are also sourcing authentic miso and soy sauce starters from Japan to provide to our customers and to support the entire ecosystem and tradition. We are a team with strong technical and business background. We are patent holders and we have supply chain experience. Our East Asian heritage also gives us really personal connection to the project. We want to recreate the magic in our childhood kitchens and make our grandmothers really proud. Food is our common ground, a universal experience. And that's why we believe the culture and the art of creating food through fermentation is really worth preserving. Thank you.
All right, that was fantastic. And just like everybody else, we're going to invite you to stop the screen share, and then we'll have our judges come back on camera and we will have some Q&A. Feel free to jump in with any questions. I know it's always awkward to see if anybody else is going to speak first, but it looks like Christine's going to go.
Or knows that unmute, eh? Thank you so much for a great presentation. I was just curious if you could speak a little bit more to the problem at hand and the specific pain points. I love the innovation behind the solution, but I'm not quite sure what the existing problem is and therefore who the target customer might actually be.
All right, I can speak on that. So I can go into, if you don't mind, I'll share screen again. I can talk a little bit more in detail. So for each type of fermentation, the trick is that traditionally when it's done, it's left in the environment at a certain season at that particular region. For example, in the environment of a humid summer day in Japan, or in Indonesia, or in West Africa, in order for a certain type of ferment to perform the best and develop the flavor. However, it's hard to recreate the same environment if you're in Boston in the middle of winter to create the same humid environment to make your food and develop the flavor. That's what one of the pain point is. One thing that we want to be able to do is actually create, one thing that we're doing right now is that our chamber will simulate the environment and create the environment it is for the little microbiome chef to prosper and like create the flavor and simulate the environment where the traditional ferment is made. And that is the pinpoint currently happening right now.
Right, and to add on to that, the existing devices on the market, they're very specialized. If you want to make yogurt, okay, you can get a yogurt maker. But if you want to make soy sauce or miso, you don't really have a device that can do that. You can try to attempt to make it in your oven, but that's very uncontrolled and very volatile. So we want to give really a controlled environment to give a wide variety of like fermentation options.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Janan.
Yeah, it's so good to see you, Jessica and Charlene, on the whole new technology here. Not surprising. So good to see you. So I'm just curious. So you've got an established market of consumers that do want to ferment because that's something they've been doing. It's part of their family tradition. But this is the topic of fermentation and how good it's for the health is so big. Have you looked at potentially looking at restaurants that may think this would be a good thing to have because they're producing food at a much larger scale and it's a good selling point?
Yeah, that's actually a question that we're considering. I will share screen again. So recently, Bon Appetit did a survey of all the funky new restaurants that came up that incorporated fermented food across the United States. And this is like a category of the picture. Of course, Boston, we're also very conscious, health conscious now, and people start realizing how important it is to have a good health and also eat well. Those are the target restaurants that we have already identified that has the potential to adapt our technology, and definitely a group of people want to reach out to in our secondary market.
All right, I'm taking a look. Right, we're back in gallery. Do any of our other judges have any other questions?
If I could, I would just want to know, it's probably too early, but I wondered if you have a sense of what this device might sell for in a consumer application, not the restaurant application. Do you have a feel for where that is?
Yes, this is a little bit of a trickier question because from a prototype standing point, when you prototype a device, the cost of the prototype is vastly different when you go up to scale manufacturing. But we do have a good estimate in terms of connection with local manufacturer in some of the products and some of the components we're going to source and how much that's going to cost when we do scale up.
Very good. I'd be more interested in understanding the value price point as opposed to the cost plus price point, but I'm sure you'll get there as you work forward. Thank you. Nice job.
All right. If we don't have any other questions, I'll give another 2 seconds. Speak now, judges. Forever hold your peace.
Any questions?
All right.
On fermentation?
I just wish we would have had a sample.
No, I know. I could really go for some kimchi right now, especially after that pitch. Okay, since it looks like we don't have any further questions at this moment, why don't we go ahead and move on to Obogu with Azeki Road.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Obogu, and we are Azeki Road. So to start, I want to introduce you to Tayo, the founder and creative director of Corporate Culture, a premium menswear brand based in Lagos, Nigeria, with international ambitions. To Tayo's words, he wants to see corporate culture in every single closet, as many closets as possible, and is actually one of our first customers. Now, given that vision, when it comes to being able to execute and realize that vision, Tayo has his challenges, because he, as well as many other African designers, lack the operational capacity and support to be able to really realize their potential. Specifically, when it comes to being able to demonstrate and convey their brand's value directly to their global audiences, when it comes, because of the deficiencies, the fragmentation, the inability to handle the organization of functions such as production, brand experience, as well as distribution, they are unable to really tap into their potential. Now, this matters for 2 reasons. The first being that Tayo and many other designers can serve as significant economic engines for the countries that they're based in, given the fact that the value of the African luxury fashion market is at $3 billion and is growing. But more significantly, more important, large incumbent brands have historically and continue to leverage the various styles, aesthetics, and designs of these brands, limiting the value that Tayo and many others can capture for themselves, and inadvertently proving that there is a global demand for these brands. So given this, as well as given the shifts that we're seeing, such as the rise of digital commerce, as well as the space being there for newer, more authentic brands to capture and global attention, our focus has been how might we enable Tayo as well as others in the space to capture more of the value that they create. Now, based upon our research, which includes interviews, on-field studies, as well as talking to other stakeholders in the system, our approach is to build technology solutions that take on and strengthen the direct-to-consumer operations on behalf of these brands, and essentially serve as the infrastructure through which Tayo and many others can do business effectively. Now, specifically starting with the brand experience first, given how critical that is, we're building a digital brand assistant that aggregates the various tools and touch points that Tayo will need to interact with his global consumer into one place, leverage machine learning to be able to help him understand what drives brand love in the business, and provide recommendations to ease the process of him being able to make the right decisions to grow and capture value. Now, to bring it home and make it more concrete, prior to engaging with us, Tayo did not have the capacity to operate a digital commerce business whatsoever. But through the use of our working prototype, we have helped him understand what drives genuine engagement between his consumers and the brand, and has therefore not only helped stand up his digital commerce business in the middle of the pandemic, but has also increased traffic by 3 times. And now we're starting to see digital sales through that platform that didn't exist before. Now, in exchange for our service, we implement a revenue share model to align ourselves with the success of these brands, starting at 15% in exchange for this digital brand assistant and brand experience service, and with the intention to increase that percentage as we execute our vision and build more solutions that address the value chain. Now, it's important to really ground the conversation and make it clear that for Tayo and many designers from the continent, their options are limited. But when it comes to providing the comprehensive support that they need at the degree of control that they desire, we're positioning ourselves to be the only company to be able to do this, given the fact that our only alternative is working with marketplaces and retail shops that, while are somewhat helpful, ultimately limit the amount of value that Tayo and many others can really capture when it comes to growing the brand. Anais, Matilda, and I have a wealth of experience across consumer goods, retail, and especially fashion, with operational experience across design, technology, operations, and strategy, as well as the personal connections to the continent that serves as the motivation for us to want to see these brands thrive and capture the value that they really do deserve to do so. Now, in addition to our corporate culture, we're also currently bringing on 2 more brands to our platform, both based in Ghana, including Duabe Sarah, who's been featured in Vogue Italia as well as Vanity Fair, and really leveraging our customer interactions to really refine our offering, as well as the rest of our platform in a customer-centric approach. And when it comes to the 15K, really we're looking to use this to upscale our working prototype and improve our digital brand assistant to handle this scale, conduct further experiments to really validate the value that we're bringing to these brands, and start seeding the process of beginning that research to see what else can we build to address the rest of the value chain. So thank you. We are at Zeki Road. We are where expression thrives, and we welcome you to follow us.
Fantastic. All right. Well, that was really wonderful. Why don't we have you stop your screen share so that we can get into our judge Q&A?
No problem.
All right. Guy, looks like you've got your hand up.
Yeah. So great presentation. And I took a look at some of the brands before your presentation here today. And I really love like the style and the brands you guys have there. Feels like really interesting, really fresh. And my question is like really about that, because we're talking about fashion, we're talking about style, and each place will have like a different sense of style. So right now, those brands might have like some, I would assume like those brands already have a name for themselves, like in Africa, maybe like in their own countries, but not necessarily like Pan-African in like other places. So do you see this, how do you see that connection? Is that like first widening the reach within Africa, and then there is like a second stage where this will come for instance to America, which seems to have like, it's a ripe market, but it feels like it's a fashion sense that Americans didn't catch up to that yet, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, how do you see that?
Yeah, so actually, so a couple of things. So in terms of our general approach, our approach is this, like, especially with the digital brand assistant, which is our media focus right now, we're building a tool to essentially help these brands identify their core customer in a way that even transcends not just their local environment, but in other countries, as even internationally as well. Because, and for more context, Duabacera especially already has international clients. So does Heal the World. So to the second point, there is at least proof within the brands that we work with and with many others that are like been featured on the slide, that their ability to transcend into global audiences. We're just giving them the ability to be able to do that with the level of data-driven intention that many brands here based in the West, as well as the large incumbents, have as well. So it's a matter of us leveraging our technology for them to be able to make those connections easier, given the fact that they already have, whether it be aesthetically or even through actual business dealings, the proof to be able to make that leap.
So in other words, you already identified this aesthetic connection, and you believe that the technology would enable that kind of style to go reach like the right eyes and the right pockets, so people could actually like, you know, like, wow, this is amazing. I love those shoes, you know, like I can't find this in America, but there's like this guy, and now for me it's easy to buy this from,
Yes.
you know, be Nigeria or Ghana. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Very good. Anything from any of our other panel members? Jen, take it away.
I just have a question about the audience. Is this really kind of haute couture for like very kind of fashion savvy people, or do you see this as also being a market for, you know, other audiences? And what, you know, in way of the price point, who's your target audience?
So our Ezeki specific target audience are these brands. I guess when it comes to consumer, it's really up to the brand. So like the way that we work is that we just simply serve as a back end for these brands. So for example, actually a perfect example, through corporate culture, Duabacera and Heal the World, they actually do span like different segments, where Duabacera is very much in that high-end couture space, and that's the clientele that Nelly, who's the founder, has like targeted in and where she wants to go. Tayo is really specifically focused on young adults, young professionals, which of course is a much different, like less pricey price point. So it's really, the way we see ourselves is basically the brand, the designer still ultimately decides where the brand goes. They're the creative director, they see the vision. We just provide the infrastructure and structure for them to be able to execute that. So we're really beholden to wherever they choose to feel the target. Now, depending upon our insights, we also are able to provide some advisory in terms of, okay, perhaps there's this specific segment that you might need to focus on, but ultimately it's the control of the brand.
Thank you.
No problem.
We have just under a minute left. If anybody has any other questions, I'll give you all a second. Oh, Christine.
Sure, I have one. A bit on kind of the social impact question. Curious, are you only targeting artisans that are already established, or are you also looking to use this platform to uplift up and coming designers? And if so, how does that ultimately impact the revenue model?
Yeah, ooh, great question. So it's split between our immediate focus for the sake of being able to like refine our solution, make sure that we're creating value, and then the long-term vision. Right now, we're focusing on brands that are like somewhat established in terms of they have some sort of digital presence, where there's just like a website, Instagram, which is like kind of like a relative audience, but that's for the purpose of being able to ensure, okay, what we're saying that we're doing, even though we've seen some success, can we do this consistently, repeatedly? Now, in terms of the long-term vision, since we're looking to at least provide a full suite of solutions that enable ease of operation across the entire value chain, the vision is to be able to at least get to a point where an emerging designer who has an idea, has a concept, but has no infrastructure can come to us and be like, hey, I want to be able to do work. And in terms of how that impacts the business model, where we're doing it is that that percentage will increase as we take on services. So what we've done from more context is we looked at comparables in terms of what proportion of revenue has gone to the non-personnel operations when it comes to marketing, production, and distribution. So that's where the 15% comes from when we talk about production is like 15%, distribution 10%. So that's going to essentially bring up that stack, and that's what we're looking to ultimately, as we provide more solutions, that percentage will increase.
Great, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. These are really fantastic questions and really great answers. Thank you all very much. And now I would like to welcome Anj to the virtual stage, and we'll hear the pitch from Rivet.
Okay, great. So meet Solstice Fayemi, and you might not recognize me with the shorter hair, but there I'm working on my last album and performing and opening up for Grammy-nominated Black, which was a big highlight in my career. And so here's actually how much it costs for me to make a song, from instrumentals to mixing to publicity. And then I have 2 albums out, and on the cheaper end, this is what that costs. So imagine my frustration where after thousands of plays, I go in and this is how much I've earned after that. The problem is we're not getting paid enough for our music being played. And unless you're Drake, you don't make enough from streaming to really sustain your career. That's where Rivet comes in. It's the best way for artists to build and monetize their super fan base. Artists are saying, how do I turn passive listeners into fans that stay and grow with me? How do I make enough off of these people to create my art sustainably? And how do I know everything about my top fans so I can super serve them with me thoughtfully? Meet Ivy, who is representative of our beachhead market, between 25 and 35, about 50 to 500,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, and she actually has 300,000. So that begs the question, with such a large fan base, why didn't she make enough to just focus on music? She wanted to increase revenue streams, personalize ways to connect with her most loyal fans, and drop her upcoming merch for her project. This is where Rivet is different. You can sell any and everything direct to fans, and that's exclusive demos, NFTs, one-on-ones, and you have CRM that allows you to personalize communication with fans, everything from listener behavior, purchase history, and we gamify that in dynamic fan engagement scores. And the final piece is the Link Hub, which is basically a mobile website builder where artists can host content and build those email lists themselves. And there's an actual text from an artist we work with saying it's like Linktree on steroids. I couldn't have said it better. And for Ivy's Southpaw merch release, this was the earliest MVP. And you can see that this was exclusive merch with that push. And the impact was staggering. Went out to 5,000 fans, over $10,000 in sales, which is about 2.6 million plays of our actual music, or 250 years of listening time for a 2-week campaign with no marketing dollars spent. Now inside the actual product that we've built, you can see here, you can embed anything from audio, video, NFT, and your fans can unlock that for free, for a score, or for a cost. In the CRM, you can get granular down to the exact fan with those engagement scores and their actions in relation to you. And with this Link Hub, you can see the hosting content and artists being able to grow those communities themselves. The market is an 8 billion market opportunity, a TAM of over 6 million independent artists. And with no touring in 2020 and ad revenue down, artists were really striving for increased revenue right now. Direct to fan is the fastest growing segment of the music industry, and it's experiencing large growth year over year. Our competitors, as you can see in the top left, are people who serve our audience, but not quite with the solution that we have. And on the bottom half, it's kind of next best solutions, things like mass email or CRM that's too complicated. And only in the top right do you see platforms that actually serve labels, but not quite with our solution. And only 2% of people on Patreon actually make the monthly minimum wage, and it's not directed at artists. Our revenue model is a simple tiered SaaS subscription plus 10% on exclusive sales made through e-commerce. The progress that we've made is 72 customer interviews that actually let us pivot our idea from previously being more analytics-based to this fully functional product that has 60 users and that we've implemented a brand visual identity for and secured a pilot for the summer with MBA for Africa, which is 800 students supporting 5 artists in the summer. Our next steps is fully getting mobile ready, more flexible options for artists to monetize, and some of our growth goals. The team right now is me, Corday, who's my co-founder, is finishing at Drexel, has worked at Google, Coinbase, Darklang. The rest of our dev team is Berkeley and MIT with experience from Tableau and Klaviyo. And Rachel, our MIT designer, has worked at Kudos, which is another music tech startup. And our advisors have experience operating and building businesses for decades in the music industry. The 15K is going to really take us to the next level. This summer, we'll work full-time on Rivet, figuring out product progress, as well as our growth and distribution channels across content marketing, advertising, and referrals to help us reach those growth goals. Help artists like myself, and we want to change the lives of artists like myself and Ivy by helping them make enough money to create their art sustainably so they don't have to rely on royalty-stealing big label contracts or profit-hungry streaming services. and we can finally put the power back into the hands of the musicians. We hope that you'll join us on this mission. Thank you.
All right, that was exciting. And wow, before I even get my screen into gallery, I see that Guy has a question, so go for it.
So it's super interesting. I think like my question is more about like you as an artist, right? We know all the the plight of the music industry, how badly like the like the musicians get paid for all of that. But talking about like the technology there, you as an artist, what do you think that in that platform makes it like very different from the other platforms? Like what kind of what is made easier there? What can you do there that you cannot do in any other platforms? What would attract the artists themselves?
The big thing is that, one, you can account for engagement across many levels. I talked about people purchasing, people listening, their email behavior with you, and what they do on streaming, and really get a clear picture of your fan engagement and be able to reward your fans based on that. And then the other thing is that other platforms try to do things like push subscriptions onto the fan. And as you can think, that's very difficult for fans who like multiple artists. You're not going to subscribe to every single artist doing something. But the same way you would go to multiple artist shows, maybe you buy something when they release it to these communities. So having a more content-based monetization strategy, I think, is also a big differentiation, and it allows artists to create on their own schedule versus feeling like they need to do something every so often for their subscribers.
As a musician, you would say like, because like your platform is really dependent on like how much the musicians are going to interact with it, right? Like, because like part of the fun is like I go there and I feel closer to the band or closer to the artist. From your experience, you think that's something the artists want to do? They want to engage more with the audience. They would like to be closer to them. That they use this platform more.
Yes, and I'll paint a picture for you. One thing that artists can't really easily do right now is say, I'm going to Detroit and I want to know who my top 20 fans over 25 are that have spent X dollars on me, and I want to do something specifically for them. There's no way to have a clear picture to be able to do that across platforms and take a decision with that. And that's super easy with what Rivet has built.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Janan, I see that you are unmuted. Is that because you have a question?
Yes, because I had
there goes the hand. Perfect.
Yes, absolutely. So, so to just kind of understand the business model for these independent artists, so are you envisioning that they'll be able to sell their music directly? So who's going to be hosting that music versus having to distribute or needing to complement the distribution of the music through Apple Music or other or Spotify? What does that look like, that business model from the music distribution's perspective, especially that most people now really just want to listen to music through Spotify or Apple Music. They don't want to get out of those when they want to listen to music.
Yeah, so the way we're thinking about it is that's kind of the top of the funnel for artists. So artists are the behavior switch. There's some behavior switch, but it doesn't take away those other platforms. You're still going to do the things that you do on Instagram, on Facebook, on your Spotify, on your Apple Music with your content that you release to grow your fan base. But the idea now is that of that bigger fan base, you're pulling people here where you can release other music to them, the way artists release deluxe versions or songs that they record that may never come out, or songs that are specifically for that community. You can release that specifically just alone to those people, and we do that hosting and monetize that flexibly and price that without having to deal with those other platforms that take larger chunks. So it's complementary, but artists will probably keep their most valuable content within this community because they know that's where people actually pay. And then the rest will be for growing that top of the funnel to get more people in here.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And Jen, we have 1 minute. So if we can wrap this substantively and quickly, let's go for it.
Did I hear you right that there are other platforms that are doing this kind of work right now? I mean, are there others that have that kind of something direct to the super fans?
there's platforms that, one, are not focused on artists, and two, like I said, push the subscription fees to the fans.
I see.
And then
Okay.
three, don't allow you to release content the way we do. We're saying that you can release to your super fan community, you
Yep.
can release music, you can release NFTs, you can release audio, video, and all those things, but those platforms are really limited in the one-time things that you can do. So on that content-based schedule, and then also the options that you have for what you can actually release.
Thank you.
That was
Great energy.
actually perfect length of response. And at this point, we are going to go over to our last pitch. So thank you, Anj, so much.
Thank you
that was
very much.
really exciting.
Thank you so much.
And now, Sita, let's have you and Caso, you're up.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'm ready to go.
All right.
I'm so excited to share Caso with you all. I also have Michelle here joining me today. We are on the mission to make creativity more accessible for everyone. And we are a tight team of venture builders, product managers, engineers, and designers. Previously, I was building new ventures at IDEO with a design-led lens. And Michelle was doing a lot of different product leading roles at startups. And we're very passionate about the problem that we want to solve. And the problem that we want to solve is we want to help more people try out the fine arts. It's difficult today. So we want to share a story about Rachel. Rachel is a leisure creative. She's someone that we talk to. She has a great career, very busy, good income, and wants to explore the creative hobbies outside of work. She follows an artist that she really enjoys on Instagram and wants to try out that style for herself. So what she does next is she goes to Blick. When she enters Blick, she's confused by all the different types of paints, acrylic, oils, watercolor. She doesn't quite know which one to get, and all the different brands as well. Winsor Newton, Blick, Chroma. It's quite overwhelming for a beginner like Rachel. And also the 100 different types of brushes is not helping. So what she does is she leaves. She doesn't end up purchasing anything. And as a result, she doesn't make her foray into the fine arts. Rachel is not alone. She's not the only person who wants to try out the fine arts, but is stopped halfway. So what we did was we talked to a ton of people like Rachel and mapped out their art creation journey. So this is the different steps that a user like Rachel would take in order to make art. And we mapped out the joy that they experience through the different steps of the journey. What we found was in the beginning, where someone is inspired to create, they feel a lot of joy and excitement. And towards the end, when they're actually creating the art in that creative flow, they're thrilled about it and very happy. But unfortunately, in the middle part, where the person has to learn about the process, the supplies, buy the supplies, and then learn the technique, it's very complicated, confusing, and unpleasant for beginners. And this is where we kind of see a trough of despair for these kinds of users, and where we see a lot of people drop off and they don't ultimately make it to creating the art. There are digital tools today that users turn to. Most people have sort of hacked together their own solution for how they make the arts. They look at tutorials on YouTube or zoom in on pictures on Instagram to find out what supplies artists have used. But there's no one go-to source that takes people through the whole journey. What Caso wants to do, what we will be doing, is evening out and elevating the joy curve so that it's as pleasant to make art in the middle parts of the process as it is in the beginning and the end, so that more people can be creative. And what we'll do is three main things. One, we'll build a go-to place for beginners to try out the fine arts. We will provide guided processes for them to try new mediums and help them identify and purchase the right materials. So I'm excited to share what our product will look like. So this is Caso. Imagine you come onto the Caso homepage and you're met with an explosion of different types of art. You can search through for something you're interested in and click into an artwork that you find that speaks to you. Here you can view process videos that the artists have put together that show you key techniques and look at the supplies that you'll need. What we're hoping to sell is the different supplies that are curated by the artist who has painted each piece of work. They can buy the supplies a la carte or purchase everything they need in a bundle, kind of a model. And we do think we're very differentiated from competitors today. There are players like Blick who retail supplies, Pinterest and Instagram who serve as a source of inspiration for hobbyists, and subscription model lessons and individual art supplies. But there's no one go-to platform for leisure creatives like Rachel, and she's the one that we're trying to serve here. This is a pretty lucrative market. Based on our analysis, the TAM for people like Rachel is roughly 700 million annually. In the short term, what we plan on doing, as I mentioned during the product demo, is to retail art supplies. Then we want to create Casso branded products to give supply chain transparency to users. So think Everlane for art supplies. And longer term, we want to expand our product selection and target additional user bases like older adults and children as well. Our path to market is important to have artists in the journey with us. So meet Zoe. Zoe is one of the artists that we have been partnering with. If you remember the cat picture from our product demo, she's the artist that created that. She has studied the fine arts, but is struggling to make a career in the arts because it's hard to make a sustainable income. She loves teaching and sharing her process with followers. So she's looking for additional ways to make money, increase her visibility, and build her brand. She loves the idea of Casso and is really excited to partner with us. In return, we want to compensate her fairly. So we want to share, we want to compensate her for her work and share a proceed of supply sales with artists like Zoe. And we're talking with a bunch of other artists as well in order to curate content for our platform. These artists range from, with followers ranging from 2K to 100K, but they all have one thing in common. They love teaching others and sharing the arts. So here are our upcoming milestones for the rest of the year. The key milestones are this summer, we plan to partner with artists in order to build quality content and build a functional MVP website, all with the eye to fully launch in this coming December. And we could really use your help. The 15K Creative Arts funding will be instrumental in helping us launch and scale in the next few months. The majority of our expenses will be to fairly compensate artists in return for their partnership with us. And the rest will be dedicated towards web design and build, marketing, and supply inventory and shipping. So with your help, we are really excited to build Casso into the go-to platform for creative making. We will grow the creative community together and empower existing artists to do what they love.
All right, beautiful. It was very soothing. I enjoyed that.
Great.
Let me see if we have any Q&A from our judges. Jen, go for it.
Well, I love this idea. This is great. Thank you so much for sharing it. Could you tell me a little bit about each of your backgrounds and what brought you to this?
Yeah, sure. So I studied visual arts in college and unfortunately fell out of the arts for a while. I was a consultant right out of undergrad, and then I moved to IDEO. I was a business designer there, building new ventures with a design-led lens. I've always wanted to get back into the fine arts. So I thought grad school would be a great time for me to do so. And in the beginning of last September, I went to Blick, walked into Blick and had this realization that the Blick I was in was the same Blick I went to in college, the same Blick I went to in high school, the same one in middle school. The whole world has moved online and made the purchasing and navigation experience so much easier in D2C models across all different industries. And the fine arts have kind of stayed stagnant in a brick and mortar model. So what we ultimately want to do is just make it much more accessible and pleasant to access the fine arts. So that's kind of a little bit of my background and how Casso came to be. And I'll let Michelle share her background too.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I worked in a lot of startups, as Sita said, mostly in product roles, a little bit of business development, and basically met Sita, loved her passion, have always wanted to have hobbies that are off a screen, working with my hands, and this was just a perfect marriage.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I think we can go on to the next question. Sorry for the background noise.
Please don't worry about that. Michael, why don't we hear from you and then from Guy?
Great. Yeah, no, I'll be pretty quick. I was really just wondering if you have any standardized curriculum that you expect your artists, instructors to provide. Are they obligated to some kind of unique branded curriculum for Casso, or are they allowed to pretty much come and bring their own unique approach? I wonder how you were managing that.
Michelle, you want me to take that one?
Yeah, I can take it. So the artists we're working with right now are submitting their already like the videos that they've already created that are educational. As we kind of develop and work with our content creators, we might templatize it so it makes it easier for them, but we want them to be able to be expressive and share the art in the way that they want to.
Great, thank you.
All right, why don't we move on to Guy?
Okay, it's just a quick one. Oh, it's a great idea, by the way, like to connect that, you know, like the art that you see like immediately with like how to and like, you know, like exact materials that you need. I think that's a great idea. I'm wondering like, what's the share there? You know, if I put my painting up there and someone buys a paintbrush, what's the cut?
That's a great question. And quite honestly, something we're still figuring out. We've been chatting with artists about what kind of cut seems attractive to them. Typically, if we were to look at an affiliate marketing model, which is kind of similar, that's roughly 10%. So we've been telling artists roughly 10 to 20% is the supply revenue share that they would be getting. And they've been satisfied with that. It's an additional revenue stream for them on top of being compensated for creating the art content videos and curating the supplies.
Excellent. Do we have any other questions? Okay, then with that, before I turn things over to my esteemed colleague, Susan Wilson, I just want to say thank you to everybody for these wonderful pitches. The chat is blowing up and I'm going to cry about how proud I am of all of you. And, you know, these Q&As with the judges were really fantastic. So with that, it is time for some decisions to happen. So the judges are going to be departing for approximately 45 minutes of deliberation. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I am delighted to let you know that the judges have completed their deliberation. And after some really lively discussions about all of these fantastic projects, in just a few moments, we're going to be ready to announce the winner of the 2021 MIT Creative Arts Competition.
Before we do that, I just want to remind everyone here that each team who competed in this finalist round will be receiving $1,000 of individual funding. And so we're excited to see what all the teams will do with that funding and what they will carry forward and achieve with that.
So it is now my distinct privilege to announce that the first prize winner of the 2021 MIT Creative Arts Competition, taking home $15,000, is Rivet. Congratulations. We're really excited for Rivet, for all of our competitors. I couldn't be more proud of everybody who is on this journey, on this process. And thank you all again to our phenomenal judges, to our mentors, to our reviewers, to all of our workshop people, to everybody in the Office of the Arts. Thank you to Theo. Thank you to everybody for being here. You know, I'm really excited about this. Thank you all so much. And we are going to wrap it up. We will see you next year.
Thank you all very much. Congratulations to Team Rivet, but also to all of the competitors. And thank you all for going on this journey and being here with us this evening. Hope you all have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys. Nice to join you.